So you've just brought your first ever camera and you want to know exactly how to use it. Well, today you're in luck because that is exactly what I'm going to be showing you in this video. But first, there is so many videos on YouTube showing you exactly how to use a camera. So why am I making another one? Let me explain. You see, growing up when I was a kid, I always had the tendency of really struggling to learn different things. But as I got older, I adapted to learn in different ways that made more sense to me. Now, I know I'm not the only one out there that struggles to learn, so I thought I'd make a video for the special people. Step 1. Familiar yourself with the camera. Identify all of the buttons and controls. You need to spend time understanding where everything is on your camera, from the shutter button to the mode dial and the camera settings. If you do end up struggling with this, then the manual that came with your camera should help you out with this part. Step 2. Go into your camera settings and change the photo format from JPEG to RAW. You see, JPEG images are very compressed and they don't save much digital information, whereas RAW images do the exact opposite. When it comes to editing your photos, you're going to want to try and preserve so much data so you can change the exposure, white balance, the sharpness and other settings without degrading the image quality. But with all this said, there is one downside to RAW photos, and that is the larger file size. Step 3. Camera settings. When it comes to the camera settings, don't go and do the obvious and use the inbuilt mode like portrait or sport mode. You see, understanding the 3 key ingredients that make a camera work will help you become a hell of a lot better of a photographer, allowing yourself to have full control over your camera so you never miss a shot, and also you'll be able to express your creativity more through these settings. So what are these settings? ISO, shutter speed and aperture. Let's break that down. Shutter speed is, well, it's in its name really. It's how long the camera's shutter is open for. The length of time the shutter is open in your camera will affect the motion in your photo, but also how much light it allows to pass through to the camera's sensor. So to give you guys a bit more of an example of how shutter speed works, I'm going to be taking out a quick experiment. I'm simply going to be running from one side to the other side of the frame on different shutter speeds and comparing them to show you how a low shutter speed compared to a faster shutter speed actually works. Oh, why did I decide to choose running? I'm knackered. Bro, that's actually pretty sick and a pretty cool example to show you how shutter speed works. I'll put the photos on the screen now. As you can see, the higher the shutter speed, the more clear we are and the more sharp we are. But the lower the shutter speed got, the more blurrier I got. So essentially, the faster the shutter speed, the sharper the image, but having the shutter open for a short amount of time won't let much light through, resulting in a darker image. So how do we get more light to brighten the image? Aperture. Aperture refers to the opening within the camera lens which light passes through to hit the camera's sensor. It is also referred by the f-stop. If you want more light to pass through the lens, you're going to want a lower f-stop. So something around f1.4 or f2.8. But within doing that, you're also creating something that's called a shallow depth of field. Essentially, a blurry background. A blurry background is great for when you want to make a subject stand out, helping you decrease the distractions in the background, helping your subject stand out. Okay, so to start off, I'm going to be starting at f10 and then gradually work my way down to f1.8, and hopefully, after we take all of the photos, we're going to see a gradual difference in the background. Okay, let's see what we have got. Sick, just as expected. As the aperture value went from f10 to f1.8, the background became gradually more blurrier and blurrier, helping me stand out. Sick. Although, if you go and shoot someone, make sure they look good, because I'm not exactly a model. But what if you're taking a photo, something like a landscape photo, and you want the whole image to be sharp? For this, you're going to want to higher your aperture value depending on how much of the image you want to be sharpened. Typically, a landscape photo is normally set at about f16 to f22. But within doing this, you're decreasing the amount of light that you're allowing your lens to pass through. So how would you fix that? If I'm able to, I'll lower the shutter speed, allowing more light to pass through. But what if you can't lower it anymore? 3 letters. ISO. ISO is something that I like to rephrase as fake light. Essentially, it is the sensitivity to the camera's sensor to light. By having a high ISO, something like 16,000 or 3200, which is typically used for low light photography, what happens is the camera pumps more voltage into the camera's sensor, making the image seem brighter. But with also doing this, you're going to increase the amount of grain or noise in the photo. And because of this, photographers like to try and keep the ISO as low as you possibly can. So to try and explain this a little bit better, I've decided to set up a little scene to take some product photos. And just like the other photos that I've taken today, I'm going to be taking photos from that lowest ISO all the way up to the highest, so you guys can see the difference that ISO makes. And the results speak for themselves. This is shot at ISO 100. Obviously really nice and buttery smooth in the background, really sharp. But if we go all the way to ISO 12,800, in the background it is very, very grainy. These three components is basically exactly how a camera works. It is also called the exposure triangle. If you can learn and understand and master these three components, you'll be well away knowing exactly how to properly expose your camera for photos. I believe that beginners should always start with learning this method and not choose the easy option. It might be hard at first, but trust me, it's worth it. I've personally helped a beginner photographer from using auto exposure to now manual, and the improvement within the photos, well, see for yourself. This photo is from when he was using auto exposure to now this photo now using and understanding manual exposure. See the difference? Step 4. So what now? You now have the complete understanding on how to use the camera. So you go out, shoot a photo, what next? Now editing your photos isn't exactly necessary, but it can help bring your photo and creativity to life. Most photographers use Adobe Lightroom. Unfortunately, this is a subscription based software, but I promise you it's worth it. By having the ability to edit your photos, you're able to adjust the exposure, the colors, the sharpness, and everything within the photo. Now I'm not going to go into too much detail on how to edit your photos in this video, but if you do want to learn, I would highly recommend going to watch this video here. And I'll also go and leave a link in the description of this video if you wanted to go and check it out. And so yeah, that is exactly how to use your camera. Now it's up to you to stick with it, go out and shoot some photos. Always remember, things like this can take some time to learn, but I promise you in the long term it's worth it. If this video did help you, then make sure you go and drop it a like. It is very much appreciated. And if you want to see more videos like this, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time. Safe.